live on Periscope and Facebook and YouTube and Twitch all at the same time.
All four, all at once. And for those of you who are swiping up from Instagram, thank you so much too. We threw that link in there, so hopefully some of you can tune in with us, and hopefully one day we'll be able to stream to all five at the same time.
But yes, good morning, everyone. Welcome all of our fantastic Monterey Bay Aquarium followers. My name is Patrick. I work at the aquarium here in social media. And
my name is Emily. I'm also on our social media team.
Dynamic duo right here up top. We didn't even practice that. So we are here this morning in front of our Kelp Forest exhibit live. We've got our coffee and tea, and we are here to see, hopefully, the sun rise inside the Kelp Forest exhibit because, Emily, this is a living and growing Kelp Forest exhibit, and what it needs in the morning to wake up is a little bit of a, as you put it,
a light snack.
A light snack, exactly right. So good morning. Periscope is still a thing, absolutely.
All
Here,
right.
Donkfer. Oh, we got Jane Bradley from the UK. Oh, you got dinner ready over there. Fantastic. We'll be there in just about 8 hours ourselves. Excellent. We got so many folks that are tuning in. Pennsylvania is there. Oh, Matt, you should tune in. Laura says, Matt, you need to come over and take a look. We hope to see you on the chat here very soon, Matt. Good morning, AV over on YouTube. Happy Friday, everybody. Emily, can you tell us a little bit about the exhibit that we are looking at right now? We're waiting for the sunrise to happen over the Salinas Valley, east of Eden, and it's going to pour down into the Monterey Bay, and that sunlight hopefully going to hit the top of our Kelp Forest exhibit and kind of kickstart the kelp. But this is a very special part of the aquarium, right, Emily?
Yeah, we always kind of call it the crown jewel of the Monterey Bay Aquarium because this was kind of that iconic exhibit. No one had ever created a living kelp forest inside of an aquarium before we did it back in 1984. So like you said, this is a living ecosystem that we are looking at right now with the big, beautiful macrocystis. That's that tall, giant kelp that you see growing in here. We've got some bull kelp in here right now. All these beautiful algae that are creating this habitat, this ecosystem for all of the fauna to live in as well. So we got flora, we got fauna in here, we've got the leopard sharks, we got the giant sea bass, some of those really iconic animals of the aquarium that live here inside of our Kelp Forest exhibit, the third largest exhibit inside of the aquarium itself, with water coming straight from the Monterey Bay. In fact, on Twitch earlier, Patrick, you were saying that it looks a little murky in here right now, and that's actually a really great observation because the exhibit itself, because it's getting water from the Monterey Bay, at nighttime, we don't filter that water. So anything that is out there in the bay, all of that fauna and the flora of those little tiny plankton, whether they be animals or plants, they're coming in through our water system and kind of helping to kind of nourish our kelp forest inside of the aquarium. During the daytime, we filter it out. So we're actually seeing the transition right now of all of that life out there in the bay starting to get filtered out here inside of the exhibit so that all of you can see everything inside.
Right, exactly. Yeah, hashtag no filter happens at night here at the aquarium. Excellent. Keen Garrick there. Yeah, so the Kelp Forest in here. So I'm actually a volunteer diver here at the aquarium, Emily. So as you know, every once in a while when I just abandon you in the middle, okay, I just got to go clean some windows. We were
it's an important job.
We were cleaning these exhibit windows just yesterday, and I can tell you that the minute that salt water came into the aquarium, even before the aquarium opened, there were already volunteers that were going diving in the cold water to scrub those windows. So the aquarium has been open 35 years, but we have some volunteers that are 37-year volunteers because the minute that water goes in there, as we have around the aquarium, and every drop of water is paraphrasing The Secret to Life, or what? Do you have it?
And
exactly?
Every drop of water contains.
All right, chat. We're gonna.
Okay, we'll see if maybe we got Anne Marie over there.
Yeah,
on this side.
we have our boss. And
she's gonna be our lifeline.
In every drop of water contain. What's the quote? Anyway, so in every.
Can you look up that quote for us, Anne Marie?
It's difficult. The coffee hasn't hit yet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anne Marie. We've got producers. We've got backup brains all around there to help us.
Ashton says that their grandfather helped with the aquarium when it opened. That's awesome.
Oh, Ashton Dennis Powers, fantastic! Thank you so much to your grandpa for helping us out back in the day. Let's take a look at some of the questions that we have in here. Very quickly, I think we have a polarizing filter on the front of the camera we
do.
might want to take off. So what I'm going to do super
transition,
quick.
you just got to look at Patrick.
I'm going
right
to transition just to me over here to answer your folks' questions. Emily is going to help with the image there on the kelp forest. Okay, let's see. Let's go to the chat, everybody. Let's see. Hit the thumbs up over on YouTube. Thanks, Jane. Hey, Finland is over there on YouTube as well. Hello, Reno. Hello, Colorado Springs, Atascadero originally. Hey, Washington State. Hey, Gilroy. Awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in there. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm going to transition us back over here.
Yeah, it's going to look a lot better there.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Here, actually, let's just do a quick little 4K zoom in right there. Oh, there's that kelp forest. Now, Emily, one thing that some folks may be noticing is that the kelp is swaying back and forth there. And that is part of thinking like a kelp that we had to do back in the day. So you think about what kelp needs. It needs a few different things, but one of them that most aquariums didn't have previously was water motion. So you can see it right there.
Yeah, that was that key that our biologists had to kind of figure out of how to get the kelp to grow. And it turns out that kelp is this organism that kind of soaks up all the nutrients around it like a little sponge. So all those blades, those individual blades of kelp there are soaking up everything around it really, really well, really, really efficiently. But if there's no water motion bringing new nutrients and kind of increasing the amount of water flow and those little micro eddies across those blades of the kelp to bring it those nutrients that it needs, then it's not going to be able to grow. It's not like a plant on land that has a root system. Instead, it's getting all of its nutrients through those blades of the kelp, whether it's nutrients from the water around it or nutrients from the sunlight up above. Yeah,
so that water motion there, we got Olivia asking, we have a plunger that's plunging up and down, and it was actually welded by David Packard himself. So the aquarium is within the David and Lucille Packard Foundation portfolio from back in the day. So it was David Packard and Lucille Packard that helped kind of design the whole area. But David Packard was a jack of all trades. He designed so many different things with HP back in the day. And so he had a metal working shop and welded our plunger that's still in action today.
And Anne-Marie, and it looks like we had Natalie coming
Thank
in
you,
there
Natalie.
with the wind there. Yeah, in one drop of water are found all the secrets of all the oceans.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, in one drop of water, I found the secrets of all the endless oceans. Thank you, Natalie.
Yeah.
Man, that's demerits on us. Okay.
Yeah.
We will make sure to have that on lock for next time. Thank you so much, Natalie, for looking that up. We've got folks tuning in from Long Beach. Thanks for being there. Hello from Diego Garcia. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Okay, let's see. Good morning from Oregon. Tennessee is there as well. Oh, you go diving in the Kelp Forest in Monterey. Spectacular. Absolutely, and that's where the idea for the Monterey Bay Aquarium came from, was from 4 scientists that were next door at Hopkins Marine Station, spending a lot of time hanging out in this old cannery for TGIFs, we're told, and then also diving in the kelp forest. You marry those two things together, the venue and the vision of the kelp forest, you end up getting the Monterey Bay Aquarium.
Yeah, and this really unique habitat that we have here in the Monterey Bay and along the Central California coast, these beautiful, iconic kelp forests, they wanted to be able to show to anyone who can't go out there and can't go diving. They wanted to share that vision and share those beautiful, beautiful places to the rest of the world, and I think they accomplished it.
Yeah, I think they did a pretty good job there. Good morning. Oh, Alicia, one of my former sea otter volunteer shift mates. We took care of a lot of sea otter pups over the years. Good to see you. Hello from Japan. Thanks for tuning in here to the kelp forest. We got Topeka, Kansas, New Hampshire, Georgia. We've got script that looks to be potentially Russian, at least Eastern European. Hello, everyone over there. We got Slow in the house. Hello, San Luis Obispo. Now, what we're looking at here, folks, is a living kelp forest. But one thing we should point out is that this kelp forest is sort of a mixture of kelp forests that you find here in California. Hey, Newcastle, thanks for tuning in from England. Santa Cruz, across the bay, we're waving at you. Here, I can prove that we're waving at you. Hold on. 1, 2, 3. Hey, Santa Cruz.
Hey, Santa Cruz.
Waving from across the way. Oh, that was adorable. I like that. Okay. Got inspired to go diving after I went to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. Amazing place for the family and great educational staff willing to answer any and every questions. Thanks so much, John, for the fantastic comment there on YouTube. Hey, Concordia, Kansas, Tucson, Arizona.
Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah, hold on. Let's transition back.
There.
You got an Arizonian right here next to me.
Hey, hello.
Excellent.
Welcome.
Whittier, California. Oh, Mexico City. Bienvenidos. Thanks for being there. Hello. Thanks, Charlotte. Hello from San Diego. So one thing I did want to point out just about the biology here of this particular exhibit is that the Monterey Bay Aquarium Kelp Forest exhibit is basically what it would look like if you were diving in the Monterey Bay in an area with pretty low water motion, generally speaking. The bull kelp that we have in here is actually coming from the wild and put into the exhibit. Bull kelp needs a little bit of stronger current to grow naturally, and it's an annual kelp, so it pops up, drifts away. We grab some of those, bring them into the aquarium. But the fish species that we have in here are definitely a mixture of northern and southern California species. In particular, fish that you would not necessarily see in the Monterey Bay, Garibaldi, which are the bright orange fish. I don't think we've seen any yet. You're also not going to see too many giant sea bass, although there are reports of young ones in the Monterey Bay. You're also not going to see sargo, which are fish with a black bar on the back in the Monterey Bay. But everything else you're going to find here in the Monterey Bay, depending on the season and where you happen to be, from leopard sharks to sheephead that are more southern species. But just so you know, when you come here to the aquarium, this is what it looks like out in the bay, but it's a mixture of kelp forests from the north to the south of California, kind of representing the whole diversity that we have here. Let me transition us back here on camera. Once again, everyone, if you're just tuning in, my name's Patrick.
And my name is Emily. We're the social media team here at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And we're just waking up this morning. We got our coffee. We got our tea. We've got the rest of our social media crew, including Anne-Marie and Peter over there. He's part of our
right
seafood watch. They're
right
that way.
Yep.
That are hanging out with us here this morning, waking up. Little coffee with the kelp and coffee with all of you here this morning.
I mean, they're welcome to hop on the stream if they'd like to.
If they want to. There, we got lots of people joining us here this morning.
Do you want to come on
stream? It's a
stream?
good place.
Hey, we're gonna get Ken Peterson here on the stream here. I'm gonna scoot over here towards Emily. Ken, come over here. Yeah, come over here. Yeah, come grab a seat. We are just waking up. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the stream, Ken Peterson. I'm going to hand you this microphone very quickly. And hey, good morning, Ken. Thanks for tuning in. Just to prove that we're live, Ken had no idea that he was going to be live, but you can see over here.
I just hopped off my bicycle.
You've been here at the aquarium for how many years here, Ken?
30 on staff, but I was here on grand opening day as a newspaper reporter.
There you go. So you're reporting about the aquarium since when we first opened, which is very exciting. And just to show you a little bit of the technology that's going on here. So here we have our streaming there. Yep. And then here are all the fantastic people that are tuning in from all around the world. Take a look. We've got folks that are tuning in from the UK, from Vancouver, from Oregon. We've got folks that used to live in Salinas.
Wow.
Jordan, yeah. Fantastic. So, Ken, can you tell us, you've been here at the aquarium for a long time. You've shared the kelp forest story with so many people. Can you tell us what does the kelp forest mean to you as someone here who gets to come in and see this and share this with the world? What does it mean?
It is just such an iconically beautiful place to be. I mean, at its heart, it's a heart experience. It's a place where you can just come and relax and be entranced by a living part of our ocean ecosystem right here in Monterey Bay that is spectacularly gorgeous. And now, even in the early morning light, where you get the sun coming in, natural sunlight coming to the surface, you've got the sardines and/or anchovies, or both, swimming around there with the light sparkling off them. It's just a magical place.
It is, and we are here. We're starting to see it. We're here for the sunrise in the kelp forest. So cool. We brought our, I don't know if you need any coffee, but we do have runners there on the side. But I've got my coffee here. Let's see, Emily, can you get your tea there on the screen to prove that we've got the tea? There's Emily's tea. And so we've got our go-go juice for the morning, but we also have the kelp forest getting its light snack, as Emily likes to put it. And you can see the kelp coming in, or the light coming in to feed the kelp. And so can you tell me what it was like when you opened and this worked? Because it wasn't a done deal that the kelp forest would actually happen. So for you as the reporter, what did it look like that they pulled it off?
Well, it was amazing that it happened, and it did not look anything like it looks today, because anybody who's ever planted a garden or seen an area recover, the vegetation recover after a fire, you know that there's a state when everything is new and just beginning. And the kelp forest was just like that. There were a few of the giant kelp, the macrocystis, in there that had been planted and kind of bungee corded and glued to the rocks on the bottom. There were
encouraged to settle.
Encouraged to settle and take up a home.
Yeah.
There were a few of the smaller turf algae on the rock work on the back wall and on the rocks at the bottom. But basically, it was more of a rockscape with a few kelp plants in it and some fish.
Gotcha.
And so to watch it mature and evolve with all of the life that's coming in from the bay with the seawater every single day, it has just been a real transformation. And
it's really cool. Yeah, and you got to see this kelp grow up in front of you. Now we got a kelp forest that's 35 years old. You know, it's got a little bit of a career. It's got some experience under its belt.
Yeah, it's got critters living in there that have probably been there since 1984.
Yeah,
that nobody really pays much attention to because they're adhering to the rock somewhere. They're in a crevice.
Oh.
There we go.
Hello. Let's see that. It was so cool what you were pointing out just then. That let's see. Let me transition us back just to people. Yeah. And we're going to pull the old disconnect, reconnect trick there.
Good. Hopefully that will work.
You know, the thing, Ken, is that we're all about that live. We're all about that live work. There it is. We're back. Oh, my goodness. Look at us. That's just like serving up the guests every day. You know, every once in a while, you're here in front of the exhibit, you're talking about an animal, and then someone spills a coffee, and then you got to deal with that. So, every once in a while, the technology. There's only so much kelp forest that our camera can handle. We're training it up to be okay with this amount of awesome all at the same time. But,
I was looking, Megan. We're glad to share the stories too. That it's not just the music or the kelp drifting, and those stories do change every day. And that's the other thing that I love about the kelp forest. It's never the same. The light's always different. The constellation of fish moving through there is always changing. The composition of the animals in there will change with some of the larvae, particularly the invertebrates, settling out, and you'll see things crawling around on the window ledges that you wouldn't otherwise. And you might see some of the technical stuff that goes into keeping a living exhibit going inside an aquarium. So last week we had a repair crew in here.
Yep.
Because 35-year-old windows with elastic mullion to kind of hold those acrylic panes in place occasionally need some attention.
Yes.
So they were there with chisels and stuff, working some of the invertebrates off.
And this is the holding pool for all the water for the aquarium. So it's really important that this one specifically stays watertight. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Ken. I just want to go to the chat. We've got a few questions in here. Do you have to thin out the aquarium kelp forest every once in a while? Yeah, we got to go in and trim the kelp so that it doesn't crowd out the exhibit, and then we feed that kelp to other animals there. We got John saying, "That's it, I'm coming this weekend, Ken." So you did it.
High five.
You did.
Alrighty, John.
Yeah, if you happen to be here, find Ken. If you're walking around, give John a high five. There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Ken. We're gonna slide on over. Thanks for coming in. Hey, everybody, wave bye to Ken there.
Nice to spend some time with you, and I'm gonna trade the microphones back to your hosts.
Sounds good. All right. Oh, look at this professional slide. Let's see. No coffee in the way.
No coffee in the way.
Oh yeah, look at that. That worked. Wonderful. All right. Ooh, how many gallons in here? We've got just over 1/3 of a million gallons.
Yeah, so it's 335,000 gallons of water inside of our kelp forest exhibit. It's our third largest exhibit here at the aquarium by volume. So our largest one is that open sea exhibit over on the other side of the aquarium that has just over 1 million gallons, 1.2 million gallons of seawater. And then just around the corner from here, we have another exhibit called the Monterey Bay Habitats exhibit, which if you were tuning into the Shark Cam on Wednesday, that's the one that you were looking at there. That one is second largest, 350,000 gallons. So it just barely beats out our kelp forest here. It looks like we got our colleagues, the Field Museum, waving hello.
The Field Museum is tuning in.
There.
I hope that this is an aquarium that Sue can get behind.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand her whole, their whole thing, being extremely dead dinosaur skeleton. However, I believe they can also appreciate this particular kelp forest exhibit and what it took to become the first exhibit in the world to have a living kelp forest exhibit. This is within the mind of a kelp. Right here in front of you, this is what makes a kelp happy. And Emily, we've got some of the sun coming in right now. I'm wondering if you could work some of your camera wizardry and maybe zoom in a little bit on the sun kind of hitting that corner there. That'd be awesome.
I will definitely try. All right, I'll be right back.
Okay, I'm going to hold on to this microphone. Emily is our camera operator extraordinaire. Let's go to the chat. Let's see what folks are saying. Started following Monterey Bay Aquarium recently when I fell in love with your giant Pacific octopus. Oh, we love the giant Pacific octopus here as well. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, that's looking good here. I'm gonna even just remove us real quick from that. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So to the lady, I believe, who was talking about the swaying causing some motion sickness. Our apologies about that. The motion of the ocean can get some stuff moving in your belly in the morning. But this is what helps the kelp to grow. And when there is a diver in the exhibit during the feeding show, we usually turn that surge machine off. But that movement back and forth is actually critical for the kelp out there in the wild. And let's see, let's get us back here on stream because Emily is back. Great camera skills. Look at you.
Hey.
Okay. All right, let's get Emily back on. Thanks so much, Emily.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Let's see. Actually, I'll just turn this computer.
We'll move that camera around as things start happening here inside the exhibit. That sun rising. We got our sardine school in here that's been kind of glittering up towards the canopy of the kelp forest. So as that sunlight starts hitting, we'll pan up a little bit more.
Yeah, when you watch the replay of this and you go back to the start, you'll see just how dark it was here. And now the sun is rising and coming in here, filtered through that canopy. And that's actually something that the kelp does in the wild. You know, we talk a lot about the kelp as far as like maybe food or something for otters to wrap themselves up in, but kelp is kind of an ecosystem engineer in and of itself, where when it's growing, you know, we're like, oh, it's pretty and stuff. But if you're an alga below giant kelp, you see that thing shooting up to the surface and you're thinking, oh, hard times are coming for me on the reef. Right, Emily?
Yeah, that's definitely right. And I mean, one of the most amazing things I think about this exhibit is that, you know, Ken mentioned it a little bit earlier. If you come here in the morning, it's going to look completely different than when you come back in the afternoon. So even if you're watching our live stream over there on YouTube of just this kelp forest, it's going to look completely different day to day. It's going to look completely different morning to night. It's one of those exhibits that, you know, you walk by and you never know what you're going to see in here and out there. It's the same way in the ocean. You know, you're just diving out there, Patrick. It's totally different day to day every single time you go out there.
Exactly. Oh, and the Field Museum says that as long as there are no asteroids in this kelp forest, Sue is A-okay. That is a very good prompt, actually, because there are no asteroids in this particular display, but there is something very interesting about the rock work that we have in there, the space rock, not from outer space, but in terms of the volume or the... I'm trying real hard to shoehorn that in, but
it's early,
right? So when you're making that kelp forest back in the day, and you have no idea how to get kelp to grow inside an aquarium, one thing you might do, like our engineers did, is come up with different types of concrete and rock work that maybe the kelp wants to land on top of and settle on top of more. But obviously, you want to test to make sure that works. And so one thing that we did back in the day is we took some of our concrete work that we were thinking of using, and we were going to put that into the ocean out off of Carmel to see if kelp would actually settle on top of the concrete work. We marked it with buoys, everything great. Left it out there for about 6 months, went out to go try to find our rock, and we could not find where our rock was back in the 80s. Just completely gone. No one had any idea if they got picked up or something until a diver happened to find a piece of kelp that had a part of the concrete work firmly attached to its holdfast, to its to what was anchoring it to the bottom. And apparently the thought is that the kelp latched on so hard to the rock work that when waves were coming by and storms coming by, it ripped the concrete work apart. And so that's how we knew that actually this is primo kelp recruitment concrete there, because they held onto it so hard that it broke it apart. So
yeah. Olivia had the question there, how does the exhibit get its sunlight? That's a great question. There is no room on top of this exhibit. It is actually completely open to the elements. It is open to the natural light outside, no windows, no glass, nothing above it. It is out there, which it presents a bit of a challenge because, you know, you take the roof off of an exhibit and it's great for the kelp inside. However, you've now just created the world's largest bird bath with a free buffet inside of there as well.
Exactly.
So we do have ways to protect the fish. We've got some lines that run across the top of the exhibit so that you don't have any of the wonderful gulls sneaking in there and grabbing any sardines.
Yeah, we do
yeah.
have a deterring fake falcon over by the swim step because there's a night heron that likes to show up. If you're not familiar with night herons, go ahead and give those a Google. Night herons are a wonderful bird, but they always kind of look hunched over like, I'm coming for your fish. And so for years working on top of the exhibit where the baby sea otters are being rescued and rehabilitated upstairs, years going back and forth, you just look over and you just see this hunched over shadowy figure of a night heron just like, I wasn't looking at your fish. And so we do have that every once in a while. And obviously we look at the night heron and we just go like, come on, this is like catching fish in an aquarium. Like go out there and like make your species proud. Like I know this is easy, but just, you know, just go try a little bit in the tide pools or something. Goodness.
Yeah, it's same. We also have a beautiful Heermann's gull. Now they're only here during certain times of the year, but those Heermann's gulls, one in particular comes back year after year, and we've nicknamed him Einstein because he has figured out how to use the same steps that our divers use to get in and out of the exhibit, to hop in there and hop out of there, to do a little fishing for himself.
Yeah, we do every once in a while get a question as to whether or not we have sea otters in this particular exhibit. Now, we do not. Those are over by the main entrance, actually. But obviously, sea otters would live in a kelp forest in the wild, but we cannot have a sea otter in this particular kelp forest because, as you may know, sea otters are large marine weasels, and they are very curious and very dexterous, and so they would absolutely lay waste to this exhibit trying to figure out where all of the next little bits of food are going to come from. However, back in the day, Rosa, our wonderful girl, when she was here being raised for release back out to the wild, there was a day where a door wasn't latched, and she happened to crawl out and take a little nap next to her little holding pool upstairs, and then saw, well, hey, there's this large, massive kelp forest here in front of you. And so she happened to go and plop herself into the kelp forest. Now, meanwhile, a volunteer was in front of this exhibit window, and someone was asking them, well, what's up with that sea otter? Like, I didn't realize you had sea otters in here. And the volunteer looking away from the window was like, there's no sea otters. Yeah, sorry. They're over by the main entrance. Like, well, the visitor was like, well, so what's that then? And then the volunteer turns around, looks up, and sure enough, there's Rosa kicking around on the surface, just looking down. Wow, look at this. And so we went upstairs, and Rosa got called over and picked up and put back in her holding pool. And that was the day that Rosa was in the Kelp Forest exhibit for just a few minutes there. So if you ever wondered if it has happened here at the aquarium, that's Rosa, our sweet, beautiful Rosa. So Rosa just turned 20 years old this year. We had a celebration for her just a couple months ago as her little birthday celebration there, but she is an amazing animal. Can definitely figure out that she has a bit of a personality, but she's also an amazing surrogate mother for those foster pups, those orphan sea otter pups that she has raised for us in the past. She's actually raised 15 sea otter pups in those 20 years. Amazing. Awesome animal. So we have this really great question here from Andrew Kornblatt. What species are in the tank that people might not necessarily notice that are important for the ecosystem? And one thing that there's obviously all of them are crucial to the ecosystem in some way, since they've all found their own little niche. And so what a niche is for those of you tuning in who may not know, is just a comfortable, say, job position that you have in the organization of the kelp forest. So some have overlapping job functions, so that if one is not around, then that job gets covered. For example, lobsters and sheephead like to eat sea urchins. So if there aren't otters around, then they can kind of cover up some of that slack. But Emily, one of my favorite things about these particular fish that I found out in doing some research with the kelp forest stuff back in the day is that many of these fish are critical to the reef, because at night they'll swim down into the reef and hide where they're going to be pooping and peeing, and that's going to fertilize a lot of the sponges and tunicates and algae and other things that it's going to feed them. So you have these fish that are up here feeding in the water column, especially like we've got some rockfish here on the screen here. I'll transition us back over. So we've got some rockfish kind of on our lower right, some surf perch in there as well. And the rockfish in particular, the blue rockfish that we have here, they'll swim into the reef at night after eating jellyfish, and then they're going to be feeding the reef from gelatinous open ocean things. So you basically have open ocean food being brought down into the reef via fish poo. And so that's something, you look at the fish sitting there, oh, what's it doing? But it's actually critical to the reef, especially at night when it goes to sleep.
Yeah, those rockfish are doing that. The blacksmith in here are a big part of that whole kind of nutrient cycle, that nitrogen cycle, bringing all those nutrients down to the reef because they're out there. They're feeding on all those little tiny plankton up there towards the surface, but bringing those nutrients down to the reef there at night. I know that
would be another one. What do you have?
Oh, I think that one of my favorite fish in here are actually the senoritas. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so those are those kind of cigar-shaped, those long.
Oh, there's one right now. There's one right now.
Right on cue.
Goes.
I bribed her well this morning.
Swimming by with the black tail, and it's out of frame.
There you go. So those orange fish with the black dot on their tail, kind of long, oblong-shaped fish there. They are a wrasse, and for them, they are picking parasites off of other fish here in the kelp forest. So not only are they helping the kelp forest itself and helping the reef ecosystem itself, but they're also helping their fellow neighbors. And so oftentimes you'll see fish here just kind of surrounded by a group of senoritas as they're picking away at all the little parasites off of the other fish inside. I always say that sometimes they can be a bit of a reluctant parasite eater.
Yes.
But I think they're my favorite fish in here for one reason, and that is because, much like me, they are not morning fish.
Yeah.
They like to sleep in. And so what they do is at night, they will go down towards the sand, find a cozy spot, create themselves a little mucus sleeping bag, little snot sleeping bag there, wrap themselves up in it and kind of tuck themselves down into the sand. And one of my favorite lines from one of my favorite books by Milton Love is that he has spotted them sleeping in until about 10 in the morning out there in the wild, which that's a fish after my own heart right there.
Oh yeah, got to start the day right. Yeah, that reminds me. A friend of mine is a diver out here in the bay, doing a lot of work all the time. And one time he was diving in the early evening, and he saw a senorita look like it was going to go to bed, and he had never seen a senorita tuck itself in. And so he was watching, and then the senorita kind of looked at him and like moved on a little bit further in the sand, and then kind of went down and then kind of looked at him, and he's like, "Are you going to do it?" And eventually the senorita apparently just passed out on the sand, was just like, well, you're okay, and just fell asleep on the sand. And so my friend went over and just tucked it in, put a little bit of sand over its back, and then it kind of looked up and then eventually wiggled back in and did its thing. So they are a fish, right? Yeah. A fish that has to be tucked in there. Pretty hilarious.
It needs to be cozy to sleep. Another thing that I can relate to.
Absolutely. Emily, I was wondering, can you use your camera trickery to go back to a wide shot, because the sardines and anchovies are coming down a little bit lower. I think we can get them. So I'm going to hold on. Thanks, everyone, for tuning. Oh, we've got Brazil tuning in. Hello. Thank you so much. Bakersfield is there. Germantown. Hello. Philadelphia is there as well. Oh, hello. Watching from the UK. Oh, which species of shark is that? It's the leopard shark in there. In case you were wondering, leopard sharks are found very commonly in Southern California, and you see them here at in the Monterey Bay every so often, especially I've seen them off of Pebble Beach. Thank you, Emily. Look at that beautiful view.
Yeah, you can see that sunlight kind of coming down from up above right now. Oh, here, I'll pan up just a little bit more so you can really see those sardines up top.
Yeah, we have Amy the Great. Oh, fantastic. Better than Amy the Just Okay. Are the wolf eel and monkey-faced eel active at this time? They're my favorite. So the wolf eels are actually going to be tucked away below the window at the moment. I did see one swimming last night during my volunteer dive shift, which was absolutely adorable. The thing about wolf eels is that they don't really have a swim bladder. So when they swim up, they're swimming, and then when they stop, it's just
immediately start sinking,
right back down. So you just kind of see them put out their little pectoral fins as best as they can and just back down to the bottom. So the wolf eels are active in that they are in there doing wolf eel stuff, which is usually hanging out in a crack in the reef. And then monkey-faced eels. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda in there too.
Another fish that doesn't have that swim bladder in here are those leopard sharks. We just mentioned
yeah.
those leopard sharks inside. So the reason why you don't see them going immediately straight down like that wolf eel does when it stops swimming is because they have that kind of very airplane-shaped body of theirs. It is built to help them stay up in the water column, but it also because they have a really oily liver. So oil, much lighter than water, actually helps give that fish a little bit of buoyancy. Yes, sharks are fish, but it helps those leopard sharks stay up higher in the water column without having to spend a lot of energy swimming.
Yeah, and that is something interesting, too, just about how sharks, there's so many different adaptations in the ocean for buoyancy or staying more or less floaty. And one thing that we've noticed with our white shark research, as an example, is that the white sharks are here, they're eating elephant seal, and they get extremely fat livers. And then when they swim over to the White Shark Cafe, which is halfway between California and Hawaii, to do whatever it is they do at the cafe, watch live music, Burning Man style art exhibitions, whatever the sharks are doing out in the cafe, as they swim, they often dive down and kind of sleep, and then they swim back up, and then they kind of drift and glide down. And you can see that when they have a very fat liver, they sink very, very slowly down, and then they swim up. And so they kind of have this very smooth arc. And then as they return, where they aren't as fat as they were, you can see that they're just sinking and swimming up and sinking. And they have this very jagged swimming pattern on the way back as they've used up those fat stores.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that we just recently realized that we could track with the types of tags that we put on those sharks.
Yes.
So that we can see that kind of change in their buoyancy. And that was one of the ways that we were able to figure out that when these sharks are out there in the cafe, that they really aren't eating. We first weren't sure if they were going out there in search of food or if they were going out there for a different reason. But now we know that they are definitely going out there for something else besides eating, that they're eating a little bit while they're out there, but they're definitely bulking up here along the coastline first and using those energy stores to help them get out there and get back to the coast here.
Exactly. Great. We've got Washington State tuning in. We've got Germany. Herzlich willkommen. Thank you for being there. We got Fresno. We got Iowa in the house. Texas is there. Thank you for tuning in. Emily, we have a question I'm going to throw it to you from Caitlin. I love how peaceful this is. What is your favorite part of the aquarium? Just pick a favorite part today. It can change.
You're not. This isn't.
Yeah, this isn't. Yeah. You're not committed to this. What is your favorite part?
I mean, sometimes it changes like every hour, but today.
Favorite part of the kelp forest, maybe we can.
Favorite part of the kelp forest. Yeah, let's narrow it down there. My favorite part of the kelp forest is when you're up on the second floor and you get a peek into the canopy or the very top of the kelp forest. The kelp forest is built very similarly to a rainforest where you have different animals that live in different parts from the top all the way down to the bottom, down towards the reef. One of my favorite things to do, though, is to go up on the second floor, stand in front of the window there, look at that kelp canopy, because there are these small little fish that live just in the kelp there. They look the same exact color as the kelp itself, those little kelp perch.
Yep.
And they'll kind of poke their faces out and kind of dart back in, and just being able to sit there and stare at them. And you'll spot one, and then all of a sudden you'll spot 50 up there. Yeah.
And those are homegrown. Those are born here at the aquarium.
And they're actually born here inside of the kelp forest too. They give live birth. And so they have their babies right there in the kelp canopy. So sometimes you'll see these little tiny little nuggets. They're like that big. They're really cute.
Yeah. If you see a perch up there that is flipping heads or tails and tails, then you know that it's a pregnant fish that's about to give birth. You'll see a little tail popping out the end there.
What's the school of fish in the kelp forest?
Patrick,
you want to answer that
Charlotte
one for
over
Charlotte?
on YouTube. What is the school of fish in the kelp forest? It changes, but it is often sardines and anchovies, or both, or one or the other. So the way that you tell the difference between sardines and anchovies, they're actually a completely different type of fish. They're not in the same fish family, but they've converged on being a silvery schooling fish for defense, because if you have a whole bunch of your friends, the more likely it is one of your friends will get eaten and not you, so they're playing the odds. And also, the more everybody looks exactly like each other, it's a very difficult target for a predator. So if you all look exactly the same, the fish might be coming in to try to eat one of you and then just get confused as to where everyone went. And also, with 1,000 fish, that's 2,000 eyeballs to know where danger is coming from. But the way that you tell the difference between sardines and anchovies without getting too technical is that sardines keep their tail open as they swim. So when you see them swim, it just keeps their tail open like so. And then if you see an anchovy, they do little kicks and then they glide with a scissor kick to their tail. So if you see the scissor kick tail, you're dealing with an anchovy. If you have the open tail, wait to see. If it never does a scissor kick, then you're dealing with a sardine. Sardines also have spots on their side. Their face looks a little bit different, more of a funnel when they're feeding. But just the tail trick, just take a look at that. So this is a sardine. That's an anchovy doing the scissor kick there.
Yeah, if you want to get really sciencey, really impress your friends, that kind of scissor kick motion like that is called articulation.
Ooh.
So anchovies starts with an A, articulation starts with an A. That's how you can kind of remember that one a little bit there.
There you go. Wow, nice.
Yeah, that's going to be your $10 word for the day right
Yeah,
there.
exactly. Yeah.
Articulation.
Yeah, the first person who can use articulation in their everyday life and send us a video of it, we'll just get our kudos. We don't actually have any
yeah, we
prize
don't have any
packages. Yeah,
prizes.
sorry. Okay. Let's see. This is so beautiful. Love this so much. Oh, thanks,
Is
Mama.
the sheephead still in
Ooh,
here? Linda
yes.
on Facebook wanted to know. And yeah, he is definitely still in here. We actually have some smaller females in here as well. They're also a kind of wrasse, and they like to sleep in. And so I saw him swimming around a little bit before, but he might have actually gone back to bed.
Yeah, they're
that
another
wouldn't
they're another
surprise
one of
me.
those fish that has a mucus sleeping bag, sleep inside a booger.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
but Emily, we should talk maybe a
We
little
might
bit
be the
about,
only live stream on the internet right now talking about fish boogers.
well, fish booger sleeping bags in
Yeah.
particular. Yeah, because there
very
are
true.
loads of animals out there. I had no idea. Articulation. There you go, Charlotte. Nice. There.
Emoji articulation right there.
Oh, we are going to use that from now on. Thank you so much. Wow,
Yes.
that's excellent. Thank you, Charlotte. You're hired. Okay. But so maybe we can talk about that sheephead. If we see the sheephead again here, let me just do a little zoom in right now on the kelp. Let's just
Adam
take a
on
closer-
Facebook. The articulations of the aquarium are phenomenal. There you
Oh.
go.
Articulations. From Wyoming, want to visit this beautiful place again. I hope to see you again soon. Vicky Cook, watching from the UK. Excellent. So I think what we're going to do, folks, is it's about 9 a.m. We're going to be live here for just a few more minutes, and then we're going to sign off right now. But go ahead in the chat and just send us what your main question you have for us about the Kelp Forest is, and we'll try to do a rapid fire round here in the last few minutes. So go ahead and send us those questions in the chat, whether you're on Facebook, Twitch, Periscope, and YouTube. Go ahead and send us those questions. We'll do a quick lightning round here,
Lightning
Emily.
round.
Lightning round.
All
yes.
right.
Very good.
See
Here,
if I
I'll put.
can,
Yeah, if you, I'm
move
going to
the
transition
camera
us
over a
back
little
over
bit.
here. There
you
we go.
go.
All right. No questions coming in on the chat yet. That's fine. Emily,
It's all right.
lightning round. How many fish do we have in this exhibit? People often ask us how many fish do we have in the Kelp Forest exhibit. Go.
That is a great question. There are probably just about 2,000 fish in here total, although we do have many different species of fish in here, including 14 different kinds of rockfish alone.
Yes.
That is a number that I know off the top of my head, very specifically. 14 different kinds of rockfish in here alone, but between the sardines, the anchovies, the mackerels, the senoritas, altogether a little over 2,000 fish individually.
Excellent. Okay, let's see. Can you eat the kelp? Absolutely, you can eat the kelp. It can be eaten many, many different ways. Kelp is full of delicious salts and compounds that give it a great umami flavor. So kelp is absolutely something that you can collect. Make sure to head over to the Department of Fish and Wildlife to know where and when you can do such a thing, but you can certainly eat the kelp. Oh, here come the questions. Okay, is kelp related to cannabis? No, not in the same family. Kelp is a heterocontophyte brown alga, so not in that same family, not in the hops family, although it does have rather impressive hops in reaching up to the surface there. That's the best I can. Any other questions there?
All right, looks like...
How many gallons of water in the exhibit?
Yeah, 335,000.
Okay, coming to the aquarium today, what exhibits are recommended? All of them. Are the fish territorial? Do they get along pretty well, Emily?
There are some very territorial fish inside here. In particular, the Garibaldi. They are very, very territorial and will guard their specific sections of the reef. Great question.
Do you acquire your kelp from the bay, or are they grown in the aquarium? Yes, both. Fantastic. Do you have urchins in the exhibit, and how do you keep them in check? We do have urchins in the exhibit, and they're kept in check because there's plenty of drift kelp that comes down and feeds them. There are actually red sea urchins in there about the size of a soccer ball in there that have been in the aquarium the entire time. So as long as you have lots of kelp raining down, the urchins do just fine.
I saw the question, what is technically the hardest part of keeping the kelp alive in here? Couple of things. One is that swaying motion. Two is just making sure that it has all the nutrients that it needs, because we are filtering it out for half of the day. We want to make sure that it's still getting everything that it needs to grow. So we definitely want to make sure that we keep that raw seawater coming in here at night for it.
Okay. Well, with that, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to this live stream here at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. We are going to sign off right now because apparently we are doing some fire alarm testing here in just a few minutes. We do not want the fire alarm to go off on the live stream. We're going to do some testing here before the exhibit and the rest of the aquarium opens up to the public in just about 1 hour. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in here live from the Monterey Bay. Again, my name's Patrick. This over here.
My name is Emily. Thanks for joining us for our coffee and tea with the kelp here this morning.
Yeah.
Hope that you all had a great time. We had a great time with all of you.
Yeah, we hope to see you again soon at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and we hope you have a fantastic
Friday
rest of your day. Yeah, and we are going to zoom away from us, and we're going to stop talking here for 20 seconds to let the rest of the streams catch up. Thanks, everyone.